I know what the lights that have been seen in the sky lately really are. The lights that have been seen all over the sky lately are not what we think they are. I need to make that clear from the start. They are not visitors from another world, not some clandestine government experiment, and certainly not a miracle or omen. What they are is something far more disturbing. The sky was an ink-black canvas speckled with stars when I first noticed the lights. It was the kind of quiet, small-town evening where even the hum of a distant car felt like an intrusion. For weeks, the lights had been the talk of the news. Social media was flooded with grainy videos and sensational headlines. Everyone had a theory, but no one truly understood what was happening. I had just stepped out onto the porch to enjoy the crisp air, my breath clouding in the cold, when a streak of neon green light blazed across the heavens. It wasn't the first time I had seen the lights, but this was the closest they had come. This one moved too deliberately, stopping mid-sky before splitting into 3 distinct orbs that hovered silently, their glow pulsating rhythmically. You see that I shouted, turning to my neighbor Mark, who was dragging his trash bin to the curb. He paused, squinting at the spectacle above. "What the hell is that?" he muttered, his voice tinged with awe and just a hint of fear. We stood there, our heads tilted back, watching as the lights began a slow, synchronized dance. They swirled and wove intricate patterns, the way fireflies might if choreographed by some unseen hand. Soon, others joined us. Neighbors spilled out onto their lawns, craning their necks and whispering nervously. Phones were pulled out to record, but the footage never captured the eerie vibrancy of the lights. The phenomena quickly became the talk of the town, then the state, then the world. Every night, the lights returned, their formations growing more elaborate. One night, they formed a perfect geometric grid. Another, they spiraled into a vortex that seemed to stretch infinitely upward. UFO enthusiasts claimed it was alien visitors. Scientists posited experimental military technology. Religious groups declared it an omen of the end times, but none of the explanations sat right with me. I was compelled to investigate. The lights had become a fixation, their nightly performances gnawing at my sense of reality. I began tracking their appearances, noting patterns that others seemed to miss. The lights always appeared at precisely 9:14 p.m., lingering for 22 minutes and 47 seconds before vanishing without a trace. Their locations followed no discernible pattern, skipping erratically between continents as if mocking our attempts to predict them. One particularly cold night, I decided to venture farther from town to observe them without the interference of streetlights or chatter. Armed with binoculars, a thermos of coffee, and a notebook, I drove deep into the countryside. I parked in an open field and waited, the silence around me broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves. At 9:14 p.m. sharp, the lights appeared. But this time something was different. Instead of their usual display, they descended lower, their glow illuminating the field in an otherworldly hue. My heart pounded as I stepped out of the car, unable to resist the magnetic pull of their presence. As they hovered mere feet above the ground, I noticed something strange. The lights weren't solid objects, but rather shimmering, translucent spheres filled with swirling patterns that resembled galaxies. They emitted a low hum that resonated in my chest, almost like a heartbeat. Then, without warning, the lights coalesced into a single orb and shot into the sky, leaving behind a faint residue that sparkled like frost in the moonlight. I knelt to examine the residue, scooping a small amount into a vial I had brought for just such an occasion. It felt warm to the touch, almost alive. As I pocketed the vial, a sudden sense of unease washed over me, as though I were being watched. I spun around, my flashlight cutting through the darkness, but saw nothing. The days that followed were a blur of sleepless nights and feverish research. I analyzed the residue under a borrowed microscope and found structures within it that defied explanation. intricate lattices that seemed to pulse faintly when exposed to light. I sent samples to labs, but the responses were frustratingly inconclusive. Some claimed it was a form of bioluminescent algae, others dismissed it as a hoax. Then the disappearances began. It started with animals. Pets went missing from backyards, and livestock vanished from fenced pastures. Soon people began to disappear. First, it was a hiker in the nearby woods. Then, a family of 4 failed to return from a camping trip. Panic spread like a virus, and curfews were imposed. But the lights continued their nightly visits, indifferent to our fear. One evening, Mark came to my door, his face pale and his hands trembling. "They took my dog," he whispered, his voice barely audible. He described how the lights had descended into his backyard, enveloping his German shepherd, Max, before vanishing into the sky. I tried to grab him, but his voice broke and he shook his head, tears streaming down his face. I decided to confront the lights directly. Armed with a portable generator, high-powered floodlights, and a camera, I returned to the field where I had first encountered them. This time, I wasn't going to be a passive observer. At 9:14 p.m., the lights appeared, descending slowly as I switched on the floodlights. For a moment, they hesitated, their glow dimming slightly as if startled. Then, they retaliated. A beam of intense light shot down, frying the generator and plunging the field into darkness. My camera's battery drained instantly, and I was left standing in the pitch-black silence, the hum of the lights growing louder and more menacing. Suddenly, the lights surrounded me, their glow so intense that I had to shield my eyes. I felt a strange sensation, as though my body were being scanned or dissected on a molecular level. Images flashed in my mind, fractals, celestial bodies, and something else. Something wrong. The visions were incomprehensible, yet they filled me with an overwhelming sense of dread. When I woke up, it was morning. I was lying in the field, my equipment scattered and broken. My notebook was gone and the vial of residue had vanished from my pocket. But the most unsettling discovery was the mark on my forearm, a small, intricate symbol that glowed faintly under the sunlight. It wasn't a burn or a tattoo, but something embedded within my skin. I returned home, shaken but determined to uncover the truth. Over the following weeks, the symbol began to change, spreading like veins beneath my skin. I started hearing whispers, soft, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to emanate from within me. My dreams were plagued by visions of the lights and the entities they represented. And then came the revelation. The lights weren't visitors from another world. They were not advanced technology or celestial phenomena. They were seeds of a vast, interdimensional organism that spanned galaxies. Our planet was merely soil, and we were the nutrients. The disappearances were not abductions but absorptions. The beings weren't taking us, they were consuming us, integrating our essence into their own. The residue I had collected was part of their reproductive cycle, a fragment of the organism adapting to our world. The mark on my arm was a connection, a tether to the collective consciousness of the organism. Through it, I learned that our existence was insignificant, a fleeting moment in the grand cycle of cosmic life. The lights weren't here to conquer or communicate. They were here to grow. Now, as I write this, I feel the organisms pull stronger than ever. The whispers have become voices, urging me to join them. My body feels lighter, as though I'm dissolving into the air. I know it's only a matter of time before I'm absorbed, my essence becoming one with the lights. If you find this account, heed my warning, the lights are not what they seem. Do not seek them, do not study them, and above all, do not try to stop them. They are not invaders or allies. They are inevitabilities, and their harvest has only just begun.